این چراغ فقط بالا سر شما رو روشن کنید. میگم فقط بالا سر شما رو روشن کنید.
Okay, that would be good. Too much. We start recording, right? Okay. If you can dim it a little bit more. Yeah. Because they're going to do meditation with us anyway, so they don't have to see us. Okay, we are back. 20 minutes. Again, there's nothing wrong. We love our teas and our pastries. There was a couple complain about why we are speaking in English. And hopefully this be recorded, and then other people that they cannot make it today, they will listen. So it's very, very appropriate when we are in Persian cultural house, speak our language. And with all due respect, it's not disrespectful that we are speaking English. There are a couple reasons. You know, we are talking about mind and the soul. So the mind is asking. So the soul wants to know. So the heart can be easy. Couple reasons. First, I have many friends and clients that they are listening, and this is not for me. It's for the respect for other people that they don't understand Farsi. And unfortunately, many of them, they are not here, and it just happened for us to be our Persians. And the other reason is I speak a little bit from Dr. Safaeian and a little bit about myself as well. When you learn a language, a technique, you want to speak in that language. When your study is in English about the mind, it comes more naturally to speak in the same language. It's, for me, for example, when I read Rumi in English, it just touches my heart. But when I read in Farsi, my mind struggles a lot to understand the meaning. Even though I was born in Iran, Farsi was my first language, but my spiritual practice and upbringing for the past 20 years is in English. There is no justification, and for sure, if we continue to have the conversation like that, we can ask or just have in both languages, just to make sure everybody's happy. And then on the flyer, we said, for the reaching more audience, we are speaking in English. So I apologize for any disappointment, or if, feels like, why we are not speaking Farsi, even though we can just throw some words in there to have the flavor of Farsi, but to respect to other people that they are listening or will listen in the future, and their only access is the English language. Thank you again for your patience. And when we get to part of the tools, compassion is the most important tool. So hopefully you have compassion for us, for our shortcoming, and accept that we are speaking from myself, not perfect English, but in English. Thank you. So with all that said, are we ready to embark to another journey?
Yes.
Okay. And I make it maybe about 10, 15 minutes. So we have time to go deeper, and for the respect for the people that they want to leave, to come back and integrate and then go. So again, close your eyes. That's the first thing. You don't have to, but it's very helpful. And again, apologize for the people that they are sitting back there because that's the speaker. And I try to not raise it so quickly. Raise the sound, I mean. So allow yourself to let go of everything that happened for the past 20 minutes. This time, I'm not going to talk much. I might say something, but I want you to be with yourself in silence and this music more than anything else. A lot of us, we are not very comfortable with silence. If you notice, we always find something to talk about. Even when we are, you know, taking the Uber or taxi, we want to talk. But recently, these phones are becoming our great companion and toy, so we just make ourselves busy with that. But hopefully, you're not having your phones. It's just you and your thoughts. Falling asleep, wake up. You're doing great. Couple more minutes. Notice if the mind wants your attention. Let it go and come back to yourself. Separate yourself from that thought and just observe who is watching that thought. Have 1 more minute. Try to stay still for another minute. Challenge your mind. Don't move, don't itch. Deep breath. Be with yourself. Slowly move your body and don't rush to come back to the room. Rumi says, never break the silence if you don't have anything worth saying. Silence is one of the most precious moments that we can give to ourselves. And it's one of the hardest because constantly mind wants the attention. So with the show of the hands, how many of you would like to stay silent right now? And how many of you are just like wanted to just talk, get to the next section? Right? That's how we know ourselves. Thank you. I'm going to use this time to allow the space. I know. Thank you. When we were talking about it's not easy, that's what it is. It's not easy. The mind wants to go. We're all wired for that. And then we miss so many things in life. And it just goes so fast. Kids growing up, parents dying. And flower blooming. We never notice that. So with the majority, if you like to be darker, we continue this way with the apology to the people that they are watching. And if majority wants to have the light, we will have the light, let there be light. So with the show of the hands, who would like to have the more light while we go to the next section? So 5 people. Sorry, you are in minority. Because more people want the way it is. And to respect to those of you that want to be the way it is. And I know I'm talking softer. Hopefully you can hear. So.
Did you feel like you had gone into a higher level of consciousness? How did it feel? Okay. When we go through this journey in our mind and we go through this process, whether we know the degree of it or not, but in reality, we are awakening the mind. And through this awakening process, we become more mindful of every element, aspect of our body and soul. And it pushes us to set intentions for what we decide to do and how we want to do it. And it makes us more conscious about every step that we want to take in life, whether it's a small or big goal that we have in mind, and forces us to act more consciously by allowing to integrate the subconscious, unconscious, and our conscious ability to take us to a higher state level in our consciousness. That's where we start having lucid dreaming, that through this dream process, we sometimes experience an out-of-body experience that takes us to a place that it may not feel real, but in our imagination, it's actually the healing process that we go through. With that process, some people look for tools, some people look for ways of achieving. Not everyone can use the same tool as we recommend to them. It has to feel real, it has to feel natural to them that they need to take that process. The tools are a variety of meditation, way of showing gratitude, which is the part that I asked Noushin to explore on a little bit. That part of it, I oftentimes find with my own clients a very unusual concept for them. When I ask them about, are they aware of journaling their gratitude? Are they aware of the things that they need to show gratitude, whether it's object, whether it's the uh, relationship, whatever they encounter themselves. And they have a hard time understanding and touching that notion of gratitude. That what does that mean? That I have to be thankful and show gratitude towards others? No, it's an internal process that they need to go through, and Noushin will elaborate more on that. The other tools are, again, guided imagery, imaginations, yoga, and conscious breathings are one of the main tools that we ask people to apply to this whole sacred way, if you will, of transitioning themselves into their own healthy conscious world from their mindset that it gets regulated by their standards, by their value system. As I say to people, it's by their manual that they have created for themselves, which nobody has signed off on it. So that's a whole part of the captivity that people get entrapped in by allowing the manual to supersede their own inner soul and their own consciousness that it shouldn't be regulated.
Thank you for that. So first, I'm going to start with the word consciousness. We hear, especially recently, almost everywhere. And what that really means is that the knowledge, not knowledge, the logical knowledge or the knowledge that we learn from outside, but the knowledge about ourselves. The more we know about ourselves, that's the higher consciousness we have. For example, if our understanding is like a building of 10 floors, sometimes we can be in the basement. We cannot see anything. We are just like so wired with the daily activity. And sometimes something happens and we get a chance to go to the first floor. And then our view is a little bit different. Wow, I didn't know there's a window. I can see that. Could be a book, could be a movie, could be a conversation, could be a session. So many different things. So by consciousness, we mean that how far we can go up. You mentioned chakras. That's another way. How we can go up and observe ourselves from above and watch our behavior, our thoughts, our emotions, our body pain and ache and discomfort. Why I chose to do this today. It just becomes so clear because we are so high up. We are not in it anymore. We are high up and we can see like 360 degrees, we can see why I'm friend with this person and I'm not friend with that person. Why when my mom said that one, I couldn't reply the way I wanted. Why when my husband or wife said something, I jumped right away. These are the observations that we have for ourselves. And the only place you can find the answer is within ourselves. We can read the book, we can do many other things, but the answer is within us. And because of that, we need to use this wisdom to go through that. As you mentioned, yoga is one of them. We challenge the physical body. We put it in pressure so we can handle the pressure of life. And I know there are so many different yogas that not all of them has the hard physical core and action. The other one you mentioned is the gratitude. Why we are just every single body you hear about the mind, body, soul talks about the gratitude. Because gratitude is almost one of the things that brings us to the now moment. How can I be appreciative of this tea right now? And then we like zooming in for what we have. But when we look around and we just forget and dismiss what's in the bigger picture, but how can I zoom and be appreciative with this pen. If there was no pen, how could I communicate right now? So when we are zooming in, we get present to what we have in that moment. The other thing you mentioned was the journaling. Mm-hmm. The best way for journaling is bring the thought to the paper, like bring it out of yourself. That's why it's very valuable to write it down. Because when it's in here, there's a charge to it. And we think I'm the only one think that way. And when it comes out, and then if you are courageous enough to share, oh, I'm not the only one thinking that way. So-and-so thought that way. And then it just brings lower significance to it. What else we thought about the imagery. Yeah, like, when you do the meditation and you picture yourself, that's very powerful, but there are some aspects to it, which I'm not sure if it's right time to go through that. But because for example, I want this flower and I imagine this flower, but there's a lot going underneath of that need and want and desire. And until we get through all that, we cannot manifest this one. Why? Because we have to be so clear for the underneath of everything we want. I just want a home. But why it's not happening? Because there is a lot of other things. I want more money. And I'm just making these are the things that, first comes from everybody's mind. Why I cannot have it? Because there is a lot of under layer. So we have to work with that to get to the imagery part. What else?
And the last one was conscious breathing.
Conscious breathing, of course, because as I mentioned before, the breathing is happening by itself. But when we are doing it consciously, it means that we are working with the life force, with prana. Whatever your faith is, something is bigger than us. We can call it God, Allah, Khuda, Krishna. Doesn't matter, Lord. There is something bigger than us. And then we can connect to that bigger force. And by conscious breathing, we bring that force to open up the life for ourselves.
Great.
Anything else you have to add to it before we go to the
John,
Q&A, and then we can just have the lights for the rest of the group and the people online? Yes.
They add contentment for this things that you mentioned.
Content, it's a good point, but contentment is the outcome. When you do the meditation, when you are having gratitude for your life, what's going to happen? You are content. Contentment by itself cannot happen. Oh, I'm content, but underneath, I'm just like full of anxiety. Because we cannot fool the soul. We can fool the mind, but we cannot fool the soul. So if I want contentment, I have to have peace within myself. How can I have peace within myself with the tools that we mentioned? Does it make sense? Yeah. But contentment is a great outcome. Yeah. Yes. I think we have a question already here.
Yes, the question was asked, what is the role of soul in mental disorder and the chemical imbalance such as dopamine and other factors? The mental disorder per se, if it's diagnosed correctly, it is an illness that can not be denied. The role of the soul is the crutch for any recovery for mental disorder, depending on what the disorder is. If it's something that's genetic, if it's something that is hereditary, if it's A disorder like, I use an example of autism. For people with autism, they let the soul take control over a lot of their decision-making process because they can't see much value in the structure. They actually defy any structure that gets put on in front of them, whereas their mind can operate far better just using their soul and subconscious. The what we use as an example is like a balloon that when you squeeze one side of it, the other side needs to come out and actually becomes more resourceful. That the disorder, if it controls and if it prevents us from making a lot of the actual decisions and things like that, and to be intellectual, if that gets diminished, then the soul and our inner soul and needs to become more active and take control of our behavior. Because in the absence of that, we will not be really, we can't be that functional. We can't really go to a place of that makes sense and we can see results and outcomes. That's also where we tap into a lot of the different sides of the brain to utilize every ounce of resource that we can find in ourselves. Does dopamine plays a role? Absolutely. Just like any other deficiency in our system, it impacts a lot of the other mechanisms, organs, and nerves in our system that it diminishes our decision-making process. So whenever we go low on the actual conscious way of making decisions, by default, we always tap into our subconscious and unconscious to get us going and pursue other avenues. Did I answer the question? Okay, you're welcome.
Yeah, if you would let them know that we are doing the Q&A if they want to have their questions. If I want to add one more thing is just at first it was what's the role of the soul in mental disorder. We are having this session to make sure that we understand the soul and the mind are two completely different things. They are intertwined very closely, but they are completely separate.
And they affect each other.
And they affect each other, yes. And then the other way point is that I'm not going to go through it in front of Dr. Safaeian, but it's who says mental disorder. And I say that on behalf of so many autistic children that I've worked with. I get response. Their energy is completely different. They see the world in complete different way. And deeply emotional. And they are empathic for sure. And then what we want to do, we want to normalize them and sit down, do whatever I want to do, and we label them. But again, that's completely different conversations that, you know, what we are doing with those soulful kids that we label them as autistic or ADHD or bipolar but we are not going there, right?
Any kind of mental challenge.
Yes, we are not going there today. So any other questions? Did we have anything or not yet?
It's a free forum. Please ask any questions, any. Yes.
Well, the question for me is when it gets to personality disorders, how is the relationship of the soul with the entity? And how that can help?
Depending on how you define personality disorder has many, many, many different branches, different levels. If the personality disorder has to do with a conduct disorder or disassociation, being antisocial, being rigid in certain ways, each one of them have a different description and explanation as to how they operate and what they can do and how they can use the soul as basically, like as I mentioned, a crutch to get them going. If some of the personality disorders border on kind of what we see as a psychopathology, if you will, that's a strong, heavy level of personality disorder that you become so invested and you believe in your own thinking that you rule out any other people's decision, judgment, or thinking because you believe that what you think is the right thing to do, and you kind of find yourself uh, thinking that why is it that other people don't get my point? Those people are truly not in touch with their inner soul and what it is because they don't allow themselves any point of comparison between what's real and what's really intuitive and what is it that they have created for themselves. We always question the reality of where do they come from and how are they seeing whatever they're dealing with. So the personality disorders really go all over the map in terms of how they get divided and broken up and in what category it gets there. It's more like a generalized way of diagnosing people with having the personality disorder, but it always goes in more to detail that what do we contribute that to based on our own clinical evaluation as to what do we see as the underlying problem that makes that individual having a personality disorder. But mostly it's whatever it's outside of the norm that you see in the society that stands out, that it's not really confined within the norm in the society that they can't really relate back into the norm of what they're doing. Did I answer the question?
I might add
Absolutely.
something to it. It's again, it's the not dysfunction, but not being in harmony with the left side and right side of the brain, the hemisphere. From the hormones and chemicals and all that, they are not communicating. So there's one way, one day it's this way, one day it's that way, and that we call it disorder. And it just reminds me to mention that new technology, because everything we mentioned from the meditation, the breath, the yoga, these are ancient ways that we know. Because in the ancient way, what it was, the belief was to get to the higher level of knowledge, not knowledge of the books, the consciousness is to sacrifice this body. If you remember, like many people in India, they sleep on the nails because you have to hurt this body. You have to leave this body in order to get to nirvana. But the new way of life and the new way of understanding as our consciousness is rising is completely opposite. It's another conversation. I just want to mention very shortly is we are going to a different dimension, the whole world, the whole earth. And in order to do that, we need to take this body with us. How can I treasure this body? How can I make it the most healthy way? How can I better myself and be good to my body? And then there are so many new ways. I definitely we can just put it on the link for the center. One of them is EE system. It's energy enhancement systems. What it is you can Google it. Even Tony Robbins is bragging about it, even though I'm not a fan of him, but he's bragging that he has the system in his own house because apparently they are expensive. And fortunately, we have a couple of centers in Arizona. What they do is they have devices like this laptop, and it creates certain waves and energy. And the center that I checked, they have 24 units, and the place is maybe twice or 3 times bigger than here. And then they have different systems. I think they have 24. that they are creating this magnetic field. They call it scalar. Scalar is the magnetic field around the earth. So you go there, and some people just go sit on the chair. Some people even go for 2 hours and sleep there. And what this frequency does is works with the body and the DNA and in a cellular level. This is new. And you can go research that. I have no affiliation with them. I'm not advertising for them. Because I work with people, I like to know what's in the top line. And I go and I talk about my own experience rather than, oh, just go do this, go do that. Everything I talk about is my personal experience. And then the other way, another one, which is a little bit older, is the floating spa. There are spas, I'm sure many of you even you tried it, that they have big pots with the Epsom salt, with 1,000 pounds of Epsom salt, and you float in it. And there is a tank, you can close the door. Some people, it took me so many sessions to be able to close the lid. And then because it just brings a lot of anxiety that, oh, I'm in here, by myself, in that closed environment. And that salt, the room temperature and the water, the silence, then everything is geared to make a meditative state for the body. Great for the surgery of the spine because it's zero gravity. So you're just floating. You don't have to hold on to your body like that. 60 minutes, 2 hours, however it is. So there are many, many new technologies also that they are helping. There's another one, they call it MedBed, BED, medical bed, but they call it MedBed. But they use different devices. They put you in different devices to check everything and then bring to another frequency to work with your DNA. And sound healing. Sound healing, we have a great sound healer here. Hopefully we can ask her to do something for us next time. Sound healing is another vibration that helps the body to generate and be in more harmonious with the two sides of the brain. These are very, very new. And as I said, I speak about my own experience, which is very helpful and great results. Any other questions? You're so welcome. Thank you.
Yeah.
Sure.
You mentioned about when you're meditating, at some point you can leave your body and imagine yourself somewhere, and that's for healing your body. Is there any way to get there? I feel like once I got there, but I don't know how. I don't know how to get back there, and I don't know why I went there.
Yeah.
So,
it's a great question because with my experience, again, we cannot force anything. I'm sure you hear when the student is ready, the teacher will appear. So when it's time for the soul to come out and play and be free, nothing can stop that. We can look around the world, what's happening. People are awakening. People are going to higher consciousness. That's what's happening actually around the world. And you can't force that, but you can meditate and ask your soul that for whatever reason, I enjoyed that. I want more of that. And I promise you it will happen, but not by force. Like, I want to get out of my body. The more just like a Chinese trap, the more we try to get out of it, the more we are in it. But let it go and just talk to your soul when you are in meditation or when you want to go to bed. That's the best time because the consciousness and the unconscious is open. We are sleeping, but that's open, is listening. So just talk to it and say, can you please give me another experience of that? And there are many other ways that we can talk later that, it works for you because it's not general. It's not one fits all. None of that is one fits all. Thank you.
Can I add something
Sure.
to this subject? And all is based on my experience, not that. So when soul is ready to move from one level of consciousness to another level, usually there is some period of confusion. usually, you just start that you experience something and you enjoy it, but you don't know what was that, and you want more of that. You don't know how to get that, and then you're confused that what is right, what is wrong, and then all you need to be patient. You need to do more meditation and more any spiritual practice that you're, comfortable with, or self-discovery, therapy, all of those things that just is going to be unfold.
Yeah.
Let it unfold on its own level.
Yes.
Not push it.
Exactly. I call it personal Armageddon.
Yeah. And
it has to do something. Exactly. Why I get sick all the time? Why I'm divorcing 3 times?
Exactly.
It's just like something has to push it, and then we go in and we start questioning, and then the way opens.
That period of confusion, sometimes come with depression, and that's the time that people may just get, discouraged. And that's the time if they continue and if they don't get discouraged, then they can get to higher consciousness. As you said, see the world from a better view. Yes. From basement
to higher, level. Actually, we had this conversation that you said, many of your clients are asking about that.
The confusion, I think, comes from the discovery of new things that you have allowed yourself to be exposed to, but that doesn't mean you have the answers. You have noticed what was not there, what was deficient, and what is it that you just discovered now. So not only getting the sense as to what is it that I'm sensing and feeling, but it also pushes you to go and look for some answers, because it's not a process of just, I discovered something and I'm there now. Okay, now that I have discovered this, what do I do with it? We were talking about that a few days ago. One of the challenges that I personally have with Landmark, for example, is discovering a lot of these things and not really allowing their members or clients process it and help them and guide them through the process. Opening it up, yes, it's absolutely essential and necessary. Admitting it is necessary. And that's part of growing up. What you do with that, because a lot of it is just raw at the moment and it's unknown territory. And then to be basically pushed into it, not knowing which direction I'm going. I can't tell you how many clients throughout the years I have had that post Landmark, especially the first session of Landmark, that they have come and they are panicking. They have discovered a lot of things about themselves, but now they are like, what do I do with this? Where do I go? They're really scared. So it's, again, I always tell them, well, you just have come across things that you had never felt, that it's part of you. And of course, you need to figure out how, find your own comfort level as to what you want to do with it and how far you want to go with it, and how much of it is really essential for you to find answers to. And then you can proceed. It doesn't mean that the world will come to an end because you have just discovered it. But it's, like I said, it's a lot of raw feelings and emotions that, okay, how do I package this? How do I process this?
But if the Landmark, or having Landmark, but if Landmark pushed it to get out of denial and come to see you,
well, that would be an ideal way. And I mean,
I'm just going to explain for those of you who don't know what's Landmark. Landmark is a personal development training that I'm sure many of you participated, either first level or higher. And again, I'm not affiliate, I'm not advertising for them, but with pointing to your conversation, yes, it's completely based on the left brain and the logic and order and get to know yourself. But after that, it's opening up and getting help from the coaches or professionals that, okay, now I know this about myself. I'm not happy with what I see. Like they open everything for you. Okay, look at this, look at that, look at your childhood, look at your, teenage years, look at your parents, look at everything. And then, okay, I know I have all this. Now what I'm gonna do with that? Just like somebody had surgery and everything is out. Now what? So that's why I always encourage people say, why do I need a coach? Why do I need a guide? Because it's really, really not easy to see ourselves. Even as a coach, I have a coach, and my coach has a coach, because we always trying to see ourselves from the different angles and best perspectives.
Yeah, but if somebody goes through that, because most people denial.
Yes.
Part of denial is painful. They need you, Dr. Safaeian, to come to you so you get them. I am serious, because this is very, it could be helpful or painful, and that's not something you can look at for yourself. But that means getting out of denial. So I've seen people that get out of denial and stay in victim role and have fun being a victim. I've seen people that get out of denial and it was painful for them and went to addiction to some sort of comfort. And I've seen people that get out of denial and come to you to help them, or them to use this other kind of modality.
Yes.
It is a natural process for people who go through that. They start dealing with the denial, and then denial automatically shifts into depression. That's a very natural progression, that you face things, you admit things, and it is depressing. So, and after the depression, you start getting angry at yourself, at your surroundings, and all of that. Those two are two dangerous stages to be left at, because when you're angry, I'm sure you have heard people making irrational decision that ended up kind of costing them a lot of pain and agony because they couldn't process it. They did the discovery. They found out that, you know what, I'm really not happy. Oh, my happiness has to do with my marriage. I'm going to divorce the guy. Well, what about the process in between? Did you really conclude that your happiness was just confined to your marriage, or were there other factors involved? So we have seen a lot of people making very quick decisions that later on they regret it because it wasn't really processed. It wasn't really what they had believed in, but it was out of desperation. They needed to take action just to help self-help themselves, but it didn't work out.
Yeah, it was actually this spark of conversation that created this workshop or seminar or session, however we want to say it, because Dr. Safaeian was talking about many clients that they get to the end. I don't know who I am. I don't know what I want. I don't know what makes me happy. If you look from outside, I have everything that other people want, but I'm not happy inside. And then from my side and my clients, you can talk about the spirituality, you can meditate and do yoga as much as you want. But if you are not taking care of the mind, you can't go anywhere, because it's, as I mentioned, it's intertwined. They are so ingrained together. And that's why we said, okay, how we can bring the mind and the spirituality and make friends with it. I have a funny suggestion. I don't know if it's easy to find, but for those of you like the Star Trek or you watched it, I don't know exactly what episode, but there was a scene that the captain was captured by his own lower self. And everybody else didn't know, because they were exactly like that. But one was the actual captain, the other one was his lower self. And he was doing the things that the lower self would do. And then everybody was so distracted and they didn't know how to deal with that. Until at the end, they find out that, wow, there are two. There is the actual captain and there is the lower self of the captain. But in order to get them to understand both of them, they are needing each other. Their lower self had to come and then higher self embrace him. Because there is nothing wrong with that. There is nothing wrong with our mind. There is nothing wrong with our decision that we make and we might regret it. And then until those two integrate in one of those machines that they have, it looks like sci-fi, but it's not. It's real. We have to have compassion for ourselves, for all the decisions that we made, and it was so wrong, for the things that we said, and it hurtful. It was hurtful and hurt other people, and so on. And it goes on and on and on. So it's the both of them that builds on each other, and there is a very common understanding that ego is bad. Oh, you have so much ego. Don't let anybody to tell you ego is bad. Ego is not bad. We need our ego. Without my ego, I cannot be here today. I cannot manage. Ego is just, you can explain more, one part of the brain than the mind. It's not bad, but it gets worse because the soul sits back and allow the ego to do whatever it wants, just like a child that it just disrupt everything. So the soul, it comes and say, okay, when it's time for you, I let you go play, but right now you just sit down. So it's just, the ego is not bad.
Actually,
if you have your ego, good for you.
Ego is actually a source of our own empowerment. That the ego forces us and gives us that empowerment. When, yeah, of course, when it gets out of control, out of hand, yeah, we see other negative results. But in terms of being healthy, that's just one of the main components of who we are, our personality. It goes kind of in that range that I mentioned, as far as it, ego, and superego, is absolute essential ways of us operating. And the ego is that power that gives us and allows us to express the subconscious, unconscious ideas, thoughts, verbal, verbiage, etc. Other questions?
Yeah, actually, regarding the question you had on, having felt out of body and you wanted to go there again and so forth. So I have felt the same thing. And for me, what I realized helps me is it's difficult for me to meditate by just meditating, right? But what really helps me is if I have my mind focused on something else that requires a lot of focus, and it's just one thing. So that kind of frees up the rest of the mind that's constantly jumping around. And then I feel very rested as far as the way my mind feels. It kind of empties, unloads on my soul. And then I do feel that bliss, that out-of-body experience. Yeah, like a very difficult hike or a very difficult yoga or something that really is almost, it's almost primal, that you need to really focus and you can't let your mind wander.
Are you saying that will become your anchor before you can get to that next level? Kind of going into that comfort zone and finding your anchor, basically feel stable enough to let yourself go to that level of meditating?
Yeah, I mean, if I've tried sitting down and meditating, right, and but I find that I'm constantly bringing my mind back, right? I could be focusing my breath, or, an experience or something, but it's constant struggle, and it's usually 2 or 3 things that I'm trying to, really. Whereas if I'm just focusing on one thing, and if I don't focus, I fall, or hurt, I get hurt, or I get burned, something bad happens. So there is no way, I'm not gonna can't let my mind wander. And because it becomes single focus, rest of my mind rests.
Yeah, as I mentioned, there's no one fits all.
Yeah.
And when we go within, we find our own niche, what works, what doesn't work. A lot of people that mind is just so, I wouldn't say bad, but not bad, but it's just so active that we don't enjoy life. So we go through alcohol, we go through drugs, we go through shopping, we go through so many other addictions. And so for you, you find these activities takes you out of your mind and to your present moment and your body. Just like when I'm sitting here and thinking, you know, if a tiger is coming, definitely I'm not gonna think. I'm just gonna go and jump and, you know, be in my body. So, but we don't have tigers anymore, but we have so many other tigers come into our life and occupy the mind. And
you may want to try Osho active meditations. Osho active meditation. You get it?
Okay.
That's
OSHO.
OSHO active meditation. There's a lot of meditations for people like you that you described.
Are you saying I'm atypical?
The way you explained yourself.
So you need more active kind of meditation.
Yeah. Actually, we were talking. I'm so sorry I didn't catch your name. Yes, you. I'm sorry I didn't catch your name. The Mashid and I, we were talking in the break that she mentioned that she does many things that is meditation to her. So meditation is not just like sit right here and just do meditation. That's one form of it, very, very popular. But when you dance, it's a meditation. When you sing, it's a meditation. When you do gardening, it's a meditation. That's the active, moving meditation. Everything, yes, you do consciously, it's meditation. And when you get to the point that your life is a meditation, you make a cup of tea for yourself and you enjoy and you meditate on that. You're just drinking your water and you ask the water to bless you. You know, there's so many other ways to, but bottom line, in the present moment is just the best meditation. You don't have to do anything. Just be in the now moment and you're meditating.
Even if you get angry consciously, you are meditating. But make sure don't keep it. No, I'm serious. Even if you get as a matter of
it doesn't come from me. So if you go and get angry, don't say I went to that place and they told me get angry and then
if you get angry consciously, you are not going to hurt anyone.
And then that's not anger anymore. It's alchemist, and then it just goes through different ways. Yeah. But at first we call it anger. Any other questions?
And be careful. Sometimes we hear comments like, I meditate through playing games. And I always correct people that if you are preoccupied and if something else is controlling your mind, how are you meditating?
Yeah.
I mean, there are some weird descriptions of ways of describing that, I kind of lose myself in playing games. That's not meditation.
That's another addiction.
No, that's actually an addiction. That's codependencies that you're trying to detach from. So people have different ways of interpreting what is their comfort zone that they can tap into their soul. Playing computer games is not one of them. So, but I hear that quite often. That, no, in private, when I do this, it calms me down. In what ways? It can't. It's more of a stimulant that actually gives you false images, false perceptions, understandings than what's real.
It's just like the same alcohol does.
Absolutely.
Or, I'm not against it. If you're enjoying it, please do. Just as an example, the shopping does for so many people that they are out of themselves. The mind is free and they just go and shop. But the whole idea is to have that be hard, not overnight, but it's a process that I'm not going to listen to the mind. I'm just going to Just go deeper and see what my soul wants. And then I use my mind or ego to guide me or make me do things.
You mentioned about masculinity and femininity, and like whatever we went through in life, we tend to go on one of them to survive, and it was a comfort zone, and we succeeded on that time. And when you kind of like understand you're off balance at some point, like
Yes.
first of all, how do you know what is your balance? Second of all, how do you know? Because you're just so used to being on one side.
Yes.
It's getting like
it's a very fine line, and the only one can judge is yourself. That when you use, if you want, again, I put many attributes for the masculinity and the femininity. If it's not beautiful what you are doing, it's masculine. Not masculine is not beautiful. It's just the attributes, and it's not man or a woman. It's just the energy and the quality of it. So if you are doing with the force, whatever you are doing, you're using your masculinity, and sometimes we needed that. But you get to the point that you don't want to do that. You don't want to be that harsh person. And I'm making example, not you. So you want to show your softness. You want to bring your femininity. But a lot of time, unfortunately, in society, showing your femininity is a weakness, either for a man or for a woman, because the thing is people abuse you. But you are the only one, we are the only one know what's best for me. I want to have my femininity guide me. Again, doesn't matter, man or a woman. Or I want to use my softness. And when we get to that point, we know being soft is more powerful than pushing, just like water. Like when the river is going, river is a feminine aspect, it's a quality, but even the river needs the edges, and those edges to guide the water to go is masculine. Because if there is no edges, the water can go everywhere and there is no like many good use for it. But when there is edges and it's just like, so it's for our own life, our own masculine can guide our life. Okay, you can go this way. Okay, you're safe, you're protected. But sometimes it's just femininity becomes as a weakness and the victim, especially in our culture. Look what's happening in Iran. They say no more, right? Because it's a misconception that patriarchy was whatever, and that's another conversation. But it's just for you to know when you are softer, you're more at ease. But sometimes with the kids, with the shop, with whatever at work, we have to be assertive. We have to penetrate. We have to like say our words, but not all the time. And if I find it, I put it on the sources again. There is a great video that it shows how you can maneuver and just go very quickly based on what life wants from you, from your masculine to your feminine, to your masculine to feminine, feminine, masculine. It is just because you know yourself, you know what to use right now. But this all comes back to the self-mastery, comes back to how the soul knows to navigate life. Thank you for a great question, because that's one of my absolute favorite topics, the masculine and the feminine. Any other question? 4:40.
Not bad.
We were concerned for the time. So if there's no more question, I really, really appreciate to give me this opportunity to be here and express my spirit. Because that's more and more I get that this is why I'm here. So thank you for giving me this opportunity. Thank you.
Yes, سوالی چطوری
I'm sure many of you know that we are not charging the center, and the center goes for your donation. And so if you would just help the center, that would be great.
به نظر سوالی نیست. نه.
خواهش می‌کنم. مرسی شما آمدید.
Okay.
You are so welcome. Thank you for Dr. Safaeian for having time
Initiating.
and expertise.